Commander Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the UES Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the unusual energy signature pulsing at the edge of her scanner's range. After 5 years patrolling the outer rim of human space, she'd learned to trust her instincts. This wasn't just another piece of space debris. Tactical, give me a full spectrum analysis, she ordered, her voice steady despite the growing tension in her chest. Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up streams of data that painted an increasingly mysterious picture. Commander, the signature doesn't match anything in our database. Energy output suggests advanced technology, but it's degrading rapidly. Whatever it is, it's failing. Sarah's decision took less than a heartbeat. Plot an intercept course. Alert medical to prepare for possible casualties. The bridge crew responded with practiced efficiency, the Pathfinder's engines humming to life as they changed direction. As they drew closer, the mystery deepened. The vessel before them was unlike anything in known space. Its hull seemed to ripple with an iridescent sheen, organic curves blending seamlessly with crystalline structures. But it was clearly damaged, with dark patches marring its beautiful surface. Life signs? Sarah asked, leaning forward in her chair. 1. Very faint, Rodriguez reported. But the readings are strange, Commander, not human. Sarah felt a flutter of excitement mixed with apprehension. First contact situations were delicate enough without adding a rescue operation to the mix. Prep the medical bay for xenobiological support. I'll lead the boarding team myself. Minutes later, Sarah floated through the alien vessel's airlock, her tactical team spray out behind her. The interior was even more remarkable than the exterior. Corridors that seemed to breathe, surfaces that responded to their presence with subtle pulses of bioluminescence. They found the survivor in what appeared to be the ship's control center. Sarah's breath caught in her throat at the sight. The alien was humanoid, but clearly not human. Tall and graceful, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. What looked like crystalline formations grew from their shoulders and along their arms, catching the emergency lights in rainbow refractions. The alien was unconscious, trapped beneath a fallen section of their ship's strange technology. Sarah approached carefully, her medical scanner whirring as it attempted to make sense of the alien's physiology. "Help me with this," she ordered her team. And together, they carefully lifted the debris. The alien stirred, revealing eyes that opened like liquid mercury, focusing on Sarah with an intensity that made her heart skip. To Sarah's astonishment, the alien spoke, not in words, but in a cascade of colors that rippled across their skin, accompanied by a melodic series of tones that seemed to bypass her ears and speak directly to her mind. "Easy," Sarah said softly, holding up her empty hands. "We're here to help. I'm Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Pathfinder." The alien's colors shifted, settling into a pattern of deep blues and purples. Somehow, Sarah understood it was trying to communicate gratitude and warning. The alien managed to lift one crystalline-adorned arm, pointing to a display that still functioned on the wall. Sarah's blood ran cold as she recognized what it showed. Weapons signatures. Many of them, approaching fast. Multiple ships just dropped out of FTL. Rodriguez's voice crackled through her comm. "Commander, they're charging weapons." Sarah made another split-second decision, this one purely on instinct. "Emergency transport my coordinates. Get us out of here now." As the alien ship disappeared in the familiar blur of emergency transport, Sarah found herself still holding the alien's hand. Their eyes met again, and in that moment, Sarah knew her life, and possibly the future of human-alien relations, had just changed forever. The alien's colors shifted once more, this time to a warm, rose-gold pattern that seemed to reach out to Sarah's very soul. And somehow, impossibly, she heard a voice in her mind, as clear as crystal. "I am Lyra. You have saved me from those who would destroy everything I protect. My life is yours, Sarah Chen." Sarah didn't know it yet, but she had just set in motion events that would reshape the galaxy. And her heart, in ways she could never have imagined. The UES Pathfinder streaked through space, pushing its engines to their limits. In the medical bay, Sarah watched as Dr. Hassan worked to stabilize their unusual patient. Lyra's crystalline formations pulsed with a weak light, her silvery skin now pale and dull. "Fascinating," Dr. Hassan muttered, studying readings that seemed to change by the second. "Her cellular structure appears to be both organic and crystalline. I've never seen anything like it." Sarah couldn't take her eyes off Lyra's face. Even unconscious, there was something compelling about her, an otherworldly beauty that went beyond her alien features. "Will she survive?" "I believe so, but—" Hassan hesitated. "Commander, her biology is responding to your presence. The readings strengthen when you're near." Before Sarah could process this information, Rodriguez's voice came through the intercom. "Commander, to the bridge. The pursuit vessels are gaining." Sarah squeezed Lyra's hand briefly before rushing to the bridge. The tactical display showed 5 ships in formation behind them, their energy signatures matching those from Lyra's warning. "They're hailing us," Rodriguez reported. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a face that made Sarah's jaw clench. Human. The man wore a corporate uniform she didn't recognize, his smile cold and predatory. "Commander Chen, I am Director Walsh of the Helios Corporation. You have something that belongs to us. Return it, and we'll forget this unfortunate incident." Sarah's voice was steel. "I wasn't aware sentient beings could be property, Director." Walsh's smile didn't waver. "That creature is part of a classified research project. This is a corporate matter, Commander. Don't make it a diplomatic incident." "Funny. I was about to say the same thing." Sarah cut the transmission. "Tactical analysis of their ships. Advanced, but not military grade. They're well armed, but not built for sustained combat." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Plot course through the Varan Nebula. Let's see how their corporate ships handle some real navigation." The next hours were a symphony of tension. The Pathfinder dove into the nebula's swirling clouds, radiation and magnetic interference playing havoc with sensors. Sarah had trained her crew for exactly this kind of flying, but it was still nerve-wracking. 2 of the pursuit ships fell behind, their civilian crews unwilling to risk the nebula's dangers. A third clipped an invisible current of plasma, its engines sputtering out, but 2 remained, doggedly following their trail. Sarah was about to order another evasive maneuver when she felt it, a presence in her mind, warm and crystalline. "They fear what I know." Lyra's mental voice was weak but clear. "What I discovered in their facilities." Sarah turned to find Lyra standing in the bridge doorway, supported by Dr. Hassan. Her crystalline formations glowed stronger now, casting rainbow patterns across the walls. "You should be resting," Sarah said, but she couldn't help feeling relieved to see Lyra conscious. "There is no time." Lyra's skin rippled with urgent patterns of red and gold. "They are not just corporate raiders, Sarah Chen. They seek to weaponize my people's connection to the crystalline consciousness, to turn our empathic abilities into tools of war." The crystals, Sarah realized. They're not decorative, are they? They are us. We are they. A symbiosis your scientists could not understand. Lyra moved closer, her movement graceful despite her weakness. "I infiltrated their facility, learned their plans, but they discovered me before I could warn my people." A warning klaxon blared. "Direct hit," Rodriguez shouted. "Shield generators are failing." Lyra's crystals pulsed bright, and suddenly Sarah felt knowledge pouring into her mind. Star charts, energy patterns, a way of seeing space itself as a living thing. "Trust me?" Lyra asked. Sarah didn't hesitate. "Helm, prepare to follow my orders exactly." Everyone else braced for emergency maneuvers. What followed was unlike anything in Sarah's experience. Working in perfect synchronization with Lyra's crystalline senses, she guided the Pathfinder through impossible spaces between reality, using the nebula's natural energy flows like a solar wind beneath wings. The pursuing ships couldn't follow. Their instruments, designed for normal space, were worse than useless in this crystal-guided dance through the universe's hidden paths. Within minutes, they had lost their pursuers completely. When they finally emerged from the nebula, the bridge crew sat in stunned silence. Sarah turned to find Lyra watching her with those mercurial eyes, her skin glowing with patterns of deep purple and gold that somehow spelled out wonder, gratitude, and something more. "You trusted me," Lyra's voice whispered in her mind. "No human has ever truly trusted one of my kind before." "Well," Sarah said, trying to ignore the way her heart raced when Lyra looked at her like that, "maybe it's time that changed." But as she looked at the star charts and calculated their position, Sarah knew their troubles were far from over. They had escaped immediate danger, but they were now deep in uncharted space, with a wounded alien fugitive, a powerful corporation on their trail, and questions multiplying faster than answers. And yet, watching Lyra's crystals shimmer in the starlight, Sarah couldn't bring herself to regret a single decision that had brought them to this point. The Pathfinder drifted in the shadow of a massive gas giant, its energy signature masked by the planet's electromagnetic storms. In her quarters, Sarah studied the data Lyra had shared about Helios Corporation's research facility. The images made her sick. Crystalline beings like Lyra, held in stasis tanks, their natural resonance forcibly altered into weapons. "Commander," Rodriguez's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Long-range sensors are picking up unusual activity. You might want to see this." On the bridge, Lyra was already waiting. Her crystalline formations had grown stronger over the past few days, casting prismatic light across the tactical displays. She turned to Sarah, her skin rippling with patterns of concern. "They are searching systematically," Lyra's mental voice explained. "Not just Helios ships now. They have convinced others to join their hunt." The tactical display confirmed her words. At least 20 ships of various origins were sweeping through the sector in a coordinated pattern. Sarah recognized several independent mercenary vessels among them. "They're offering quite a bounty for us, I imagine," Sarah said grimly. "How many of those ships know what they're really hunting for?" "Few," Lyra responded. "Helios spreads lies well. To most, I am a stolen prototype. You are pirates, and the reward is legitimate." Sarah felt a surge of anger. "We need to expose them. Show everyone what they're really doing." Lyra's crystals pulsed with a sudden intensity. "There may be a way. My people maintain hidden outposts throughout this sector, places of learning and communion with the crystal consciousness. One is near, 3 light years from our position." "That's risky," Sarah said, studying the search pattern of the hunting ships. "We'd have to cross their search grid." "Yes," Lyra agreed. "But the outpost's communications array could reach every settled world in the sector." And her skin flickered with patterns Sarah had learned to recognize as hesitation. "There is something else. Something I have not told you." Before she could continue, the ship's proximity alerts screamed to life. 3 ships had just dropped out of FTL practically on top of them. Sleek, predatory vessels bristling with weapons. "Mercenaries," Rodriguez confirmed. "Top tier. They're charging weapons." "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah ordered. "Get us clear of the gas giant's gravity well." The Pathfinder's engines roared to life, but the mercenaries had positioned themselves well. Energy beams lanced through space, catching the Earth ship in a crossfire. "Shields at 60%. Engineering reported. We can't take much more of this." Sarah felt Lyra's presence brush against her mind, stronger than ever before. Together, understanding flowed between them. Sarah's tactical training merged with Lyra's crystalline senses, creating a synthesis of human intuition and alien perception. Through Lyra's awareness, Sarah could feel the subtle currents of space itself, and the perfect way to use them. "Helm, on my mark. Execute bearing 347 Mark 218. Full power to forward shields." The Pathfinder spun on its axis, diving straight toward the gas giant. The mercenary ships followed, their superior weapons beginning to tear through the shields. Now, Lyra's mental voice merged with Sarah's command. The Pathfinder skimmed the gas giant's upper atmosphere, using its gravitational pull like a slingshot. But more than that, Lyra's crystalline influence reached out to the planet's magnetic field, bending it, focusing it. A massive electromagnetic pulse erupted from the gas giant's storms, amplified and directed by Lyra's power. The mercenary ships, unprepared for this impossible phenomenon, had their systems overloaded instantly. All 3 vessels disabled, Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. They're alive, but they won't be following us anytime soon. Sarah turned to thank Lyra, and froze. The alien was swaying, her crystalline formations dulled, her silvery skin almost gray. Too much. Lyra's mental voice was faint. The outpost. We must. Before. Sarah caught her as she collapsed. Up close, she could see hairline fractures running through some of Lyra's crystals. Dr. Hassan to the bridge. Sarah called, cradling Lyra's head in her lap. Hold on, she whispered. Just hold on. The doctor's examination confirmed Sarah's fears. The strain of channeling such enormous energy had damaged Lyra's crystalline structures that were, as they'd learned, integral to her life force. She needs her people's healing technology, Hassan said quietly. Our methods can't help with this. Sarah made her decision. Plot a course to the outpost's coordinates. Maximum speed. Commander, Rodriguez protested. The search grid is a problem we'll deal with when we reach it. Sarah's voice left no room for argument. Looking down at Lyra's unconscious form, she added softly, We've come too far to lose her now. As the Pathfinder streaked through space, Sarah maintained her vigil by Lyra's side. She found herself speaking quietly to the alien, sharing stories of Earth, of her own life, of all the things she wished they'd had more time to discuss. And though Lyra remained unconscious, her crystals would occasionally pulse weakly in response to Sarah's voice, creating patterns that seemed almost like the ones Sarah had learned to recognize as affection. They were running out of time, racing against both Lyra's failing health and the net closing around them. But as Sarah watched the stars streak by, she made a silent promise. Whatever it took, whatever the cost, she would get Lyra to safety. Even if it meant facing down every mercenary in the sector, and the full might of Helios Corporation itself. The crystalline spires of the alien outpost rose from an asteroid's cratered surface like frozen starlight. Under normal circumstances, Sarah would have been awestruck by its beauty. But with Lyra's life fading and hostile ships closing in from all directions, there was no time for wonder. Multiple contacts. Rodriguez's voice was tense. Helios ships dropping out of FTL, backed by at least a dozen mercenary vessels. They've found us, Commander. Sarah stood on the bridge, her uniform collar feeling suddenly tight. Time until they're in weapons range. 10 minutes, maximum. They're moving to surround us. In the medical bay, Lyra stirred weakly. Her crystalline formations had grown almost transparent, with fracture lines spreading deeper by the hour. But her mental voice, when it touched Sarah's mind, carried an urgency that transcended her physical state. Sarah, must tell you the truth. Save your strength, Sarah said softly, taking Lyra's hand. The alien's skin was cool to the touch, its usual silvery sheen dull to ash. No time. Lyra's mental voice grew stronger with effort. I am not just a scientist. I was to be queen. Sarah felt the weight of this revelation like a physical force. Queen? My crystals. Royal lineage. Direct connection to the great consciousness. Helios didn't just want weapons, wanted control of my entire species. The pieces clicked into place. The massive hunt, the resources being expended to find them. This wasn't just about weapons research. It was about controlling an entire civilization. Commander, Rodriguez's voice crackled through the comm. They're hailing us. Sarah squeezed Lyra's hand and rushed to the bridge. Director Walsh's face filled the view screen, his corporate smile replaced by cold determination. Last chance, Commander Chen. Surrender the asset, and your crew might survive this. Sarah's response was cut off by new alarms. More ships were emerging from FTL, but these were different. Crystalline vessels, similar to the one they'd found Lyra in, dozens of them appearing like stars coming to life. My people, Lyra's voice whispered in Sarah's mind. They heard my call. The crystalline ships moved with impossible grace, their organic technology making them seem almost alive. But they were outnumbered, and Helios had come prepared. Energy weapons designed specifically to disrupt crystalline structures began to tear through the newcomers' defenses. Your reinforcements are impressive. Walsh's voice dripped with satisfaction. But we've studied your technology extensively. There's nowhere left to run. Sarah felt Lyra's consciousness press against her mind again, stronger now despite her weakened state. Images flowed between them, knowledge of the outpost's true nature, its hidden capabilities, and what needed to be done, the price it would demand. You're wrong, Sarah said quietly. There's always a choice. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. I need volunteers. What we're about to do, I won't order anyone to take this risk. To her pride but not her surprise, not a single crew member moved to leave their post. They had all seen too much, learned too much, to back down now. The outpost, Sarah continued, isn't just a communication relay. It's a nexus point, a place where the barrier between normal space and something else is thin. With enough power, it can be opened. But the energy requirements. The Pathfinder's core, Rodriguez finished. A controlled overload. Sarah nodded. We'll have one shot. Get Lyra to the outpost's medical chamber, then dump our core into their systems. Either it works, or we all die trying, Dr. Hassan said grimly. Better than letting Helios win. The next minutes were a blur of desperate action. The crystalline ships fought a holding action against Helios's forces, while the Pathfinder maneuvered close to the outpost. Engineering worked frantically to modify the ship's power core for its final purpose. Sarah helped carry Lyra to the outpost's central chamber, where crystalline technology older than human civilization hummed with latent power. The alien's eyes opened as they laid her in the healing matrix, liquid mercury meeting warm brown. You would risk everything. Lyra's mental voice held wonder. For my people. For me. Pretty sure I'd risk more, Sarah admitted, finally giving voice to what had been growing between them. I'm not losing you. Not to Helios, not to protocol, not to the fact that we're from different worlds. Lyra's skin rippled with patterns of deep rose and gold, emotions too complex for words. Around them, the outpost's crystal walls began to pulse in rhythm with her royal formations. Core ready for overload, engineering reported. On your mark, Commander. Sarah looked at Lyra one last time, then straightened. All hands, brace for impact. Let's show them what happens when you threaten the people we love. She gave the order. The Pathfinder's core erupted, channeling its dying energy into the outpost's ancient systems. Lyra's consciousness reached out, merging with the crystal matrix, guiding the power to its purpose. Space itself seemed to shudder, and then the barrier broke. Reality fractured like a prism catching light. The space around the outpost transformed into a crystalline aurora that stretched across the cosmos, beautiful and terrible in its power. Through the Pathfinder's view screen, Sarah watched as Helios's ships and their mercenary allies found themselves suddenly entangled in streams of living crystal energy. But it wasn't just an attack. It was a revelation. Every ship in the battle zone, friend and foe alike, was suddenly connected to the crystalline consciousness. Through Lyra's royal link, amplified by the outpost's ancient technology and the Pathfinder's sacrificed core, the truth of everything flowed into every mind present. They saw Helios's secret facilities, the tortured crystal beings, the corporate plans to weaponize an entire species' empathic abilities. But more than that, They experienced the Crystal People's true nature, their songs of creation, their deep connection to the universe itself, their capacity for both incredible power and profound peace. In the outpost's medical chamber, Lyra's body lifted from the healing matrix, suspended in a column of pure crystal energy. Her fractured formations began to repair themselves, glowing brighter than ever before. Sarah reached for her instinctively, only to find her own body becoming suffused with the same crystalline light. "Do not fear," Lyra's mental voice sang in her mind, stronger than ever. "This is what I hoped for, what I saw in you from the first moment, why I knew you were the one who could help bridge our worlds." Through their shared connection, Sarah understood. Lyra hadn't just been running from Helios, she'd been searching for someone who could prove that humans were ready for a deeper connection with her people. Someone who could demonstrate humanity's capacity for trust, sacrifice, and love across the boundaries of species and space. Someone like Sarah. The crystalline energy flowing through Sarah's body wasn't changing her. It was awakening something that had been there all along. The same potential that existed in all humans, waiting for the right moment to evolve. Outside, the battle had frozen. Director Walsh's face appeared on the view screen one last time, but his corporate facade had crumbled. He looked shaken to his core. What are you doing to us?" "Showing you the truth," Sarah replied, her voice resonating with new harmonics. "All of you. Feel it. Understand it. Then make your choice." One by one, the mercenary ships powered down their weapons. Many of their crews were weeping, overwhelmed by the beauty and horror they'd witnessed. The Helios ships tried to maintain formation, but their crews were laying down their arms, refusing orders to fire on beings they now understood as kindred spirits rather than assets to be exploited. In the end, it was Walsh himself who surrendered, his voice barely a whisper. "God help me. What have we been doing?" The crystalline ships of Lyra's people moved into protective formation around the outpost, but they weren't preparing for more battle. They were forming a circle, their vessels pulsing in harmony with the growing power at the center. Lyra floated down to stand beside Sarah, their bodies still suffused with crystal light. "It is time," her mental voice echoed with royal authority, "to show them all the true potential of our peoples united." Together, they stepped forward. The outpost systems responded to their combined presence, broadcasting their next words to every ship in the sector. To all who witnessed this, they spoke in unison, their voices weaving together in both sound and light. "Let this be remembered as the day when barriers fell, when fear gave way to understanding, when two species chose to evolve together rather than destroy each other." The crystalline aurora surrounding them pulsed with new purpose, carrying their message far beyond the immediate battle zone. Across the sector, communication arrays picked up the signal. The truth of what had happened here, both the darkness and the light, would not be hidden. Helios Corporation's secret projects were exposed, but more importantly, a new chapter in human-alien relations had begun. The Crystal People would share their gifts not as weapons, but as tools for growth and understanding. Humanity would contribute its creativity, its determination, and its capacity for transformation. And at the center of it all stood Sarah and Lyra, their hands clasped, their beings resonating in harmony. Human and crystal royalty, soldier and scientist, two souls who had found each other across the vast emptiness of space. "Stay with me." Lyra's patterns shifted to those intimate colors Sarah had come to cherish. Sarah smiled, feeling the crystal light in her cells singing in response. "Try and stop me." The Pathfinder's crew watched in amazement as their commander and the alien queen sealed their bond with a kiss that literally lit up the cosmos. Crystal energy spiraled around them like a double helix of starlight, marking the beginning of something entirely new in the galaxy. In that moment, both their species took their first steps into a future brighter than either had imagined possible. A future built not on corporate greed or military might, but on the most powerful force in any universe. The courage to trust, the will to protect, and the capacity to love beyond all boundaries. And somewhere in the quantum fabric of space-time, the crystalline consciousness sang a new song, one of harmony between organic and mineral, between earth and stars, between all the beautiful forms that love could take. The end was just the beginning.